fumbling around with their time and destroying all of the goodwill they had garnered years prior with a long drawn out explosion of incompetence. We have plenty of shows to choose from, many of which you have heard me discuss before on this channel, so I hope with this video I can not only provide a good summary on why these finales utterly and miserably failed, but I can also cover new information regarding their downfall. I have gathered 8 shows to talk about for today's video. I don't plan on staying on one subject for very long. This video's pacing will be equivalent to a sewage drain. I've even organized a little tier list to keep track of where we are. Tiers going from tolerable, bad, darn, what were they thinking? Weezer must stay in my Spotify playlist at all times. And with that, I think we're ready to drop straight into... I wanted to get the obvious ones out of the way first, and given how many times I've referenced this show over the years, and given the fact that a lot of you probably clicked on this video to hear me talk about it, I think we should get it out of the way first. I actually owe quite a lot to Star vrc and Descending, being the first video of mine that really took off and allowed me to get to where I am now. So as a result of this ending merely existing, it allowed me to start a career on this website for better or for worse. So thanks, Darren. I think. But surely you don't need me to lecture you all on how bad this ending was, because I think this might be one of the most notorious endings to an animated show ever. So many videos and angry posts across the internet delving deep into how badly it screwed up on a thematic level, storytelling level, characters, world building, basic conflict and resolution. It's a total train wreck. But I'll go over the basics either way. Season 4 of Star vrc was already receiving pretty mixed reception from fans of the series. From the rushed plot development to the frustrating filler episodes that wasted precious time that could have been spent making other aspects of the story work better, and the absolutely insufferable romantic subplots and shipping wars that began gnawing their way into the story with the subtlety of a bad driver in a Los Angeles freeway, breaking apart characters and then smashing them back together to create the illusion of drama, bringing characters together and then 3 episodes later breaking them up off screen. And the less I talk about the messaging and the whole racism allegory, the better, because my god, it is a 2-pack of ass. And this is all before the actual finale, which technically spans across a few different episodes, but it is notorious for throwing everything out the window. All of the time the show spent around with random out-of-nowhere filler episodes, choosing to focus on fake unsubstantial relationship drama instead of developing the main plots and characters, all of it came back to bite the show bad. It should actually be award-worthy to have this many ass pulls in one finale. Moon betraying Eclipsa like 15 episodes after it's been shown that the two are on good terms and are putting the past behind them, just because Moon is still butthurt and wanted the chance to jeopardize everything. The hero's ultimate solution to stop Mina from committing mass genocide and bring peace to Muni, Star's home if you're unfamiliar, is to destroy the magic entirely, which has the side effect of killing potential millions of magical beings in the universe, except not really for a handful of characters, which makes no sense at all. And yes, I'm still upset that Ponyhead is still canonically breathing oxygen to this very day, effectively committing mass genocide in order to stop a genocide. It still hurts my brain to this day. Mina gets jumped and taken out by a unicorn out of nowhere instead of having one last fight. Marco gets stabbed and wounded by a unicorn, and the show lingers on it having consequences, only for it to be magically healed 5 minutes later. And despite the removal of magic forcing Star and Marco to remain in their separate worlds, suddenly both Earth and Muni merge together to create a living hellscape with the entire planet in chaos. Just because the writers wanted Star and Marco to be together, no matter the consequences. See why I'm happy that Amphibia kept separate. And this is barely scratching the surface of what went wrong with this ending, but even from a basic description, I think you get the picture. Hell, if you remember Toffee, the main and superior antagonist of the series until Star hit him with the Oppenheimer style in season 3, you'd know that his motives are tied to the fact that he is a monster and therefore part of an oppressed group on Muni. He is then killed. Then Mina, a member of the not subjugated race, is just allowed to live and roam free after almost killing every monster on the planet. Talk about catastrophic metaphor collapse, yikes. Every aspect of this ending was so bad that it genuinely harmed how people view the show overall. People forget that Star vrc was almost universally beloved in its first 2 seasons, and knowing that all of this was intentional, no in the wound. As a conclusion, it failed on every possible level, and left a horrid taste in the mouths of fans worldwide even 4 years after it showed us mercy and ended. What a great way to start off this video by slamming this one in Weezer tier. Weezer's not actually that bad, so just pretend I'm referring to Ratitude.
We are the Crystal Gems.
Steven Universe is a show that I have an incredibly complicated relationship with, a sentence that has never once been uttered on the internet, I'm sure. And this ending isn't really universally hated, it's more so incredibly controversial. Both of them. Steven Universe ended twice. Well, 3 times if you count the movie, but the endings for the original series and future are not only incredibly different, but both are also equally as controversial. But why is this? Well, the cause is actually fairly simple. Corporate theatrics. Steven Universe was a show fairly renowned for its LGBTQ representation, and its 5th season was going to go the extra mile by showcasing a full gay wedding between Ruby and Sapphire, the 2 characters in the show that fused to create Garnet. However, Rebecca Sugar was met with a surprising amount of disdain from Cartoon Network, who had
Wix is your platform to perform on. A complete
who advised her not to do it. CN was known for being pretty accepting of LGBT themes in a few of their programs for a few years up to that point, so for a lot of people this really did come out of nowhere, seemingly wanting to stick to safe representation that they could potentially edit and change for overseas markets without much controversy, meanwhile stifling anything that tries to go beyond the status quo. As a result of Rebecca sticking to her guns over this wedding, Steven Universe was cancelled, and that mere cancellation is why the show's 5th season and final story arc are so damn rushed. It was a mad dash towards the finish line. Now in fairness, Steven Universe's quality has always been up in the air for most people. It was first and foremost a show that made you feel things, and the things it made many people feel were genuinely captivating. Unfortunately, they were still trying to tell a huge story with lore and world building that featured a rebellion against genocidal dictators, the Diamonds. Season 5 really tried to go all out when it could, but it was still bogged down by the show's utter fascination with writing filler episodes right after an important story moment, which severely ruined the show's pacing and a lot of people's engagement, especially as the gaps between episodes grew larger and larger, not to mention that many of the show's big twists received mixed reactions, such as Rose Quartz turning out to be Pink Diamond all along, and the show's finale greatly fumbled the bag by redeeming the Diamonds, a decision that would forever tarnish the show's legacy as something to be mocked and ridiculed due to how it had the balls to put 3 genocidal tyrants on a redemption arc with incredibly rushed character developments. To soften the blow of the story being rushed, the finale tried to cram in as many fan service moments as possible, with a ton of new fusions, some moments of genuinely beautiful animation, etc, etc. But by this point, the show's emotional beats had run hollow with not enough narrative weight to support them, and the dialogue specifically was at an all-time low. Steven Universe's ending isn't the worst thing I've ever seen, mind you, but it is undoubtedly controversial. Then we arrive at Steven Universe Future, an epilogue series that dives deep into Steven as a character. It's very different to the original show, and even though I was originally quite harsh on it, though I still don't think it's very good, I've grown to appreciate the series for what it attempted to do, which was admittedly novel and pretty ballsy, going deep into Steven's underlying trauma and daring to ask the question of what if this optimistic pacifist responsible for saving the world and toppling an empire through kindness finally snapped and had enough of being everyone's babysitter. It's an interesting concept, and the moments where Steven loses it are honestly quite shocking. The issue is that regardless of whether or not Steven's trauma manifests in this late is realistic, the show makes a number of missteps by having his meltdowns be incredibly extreme, to the point where he lashes out at his dad and almost gets him killed in a car crash, yells at a victim of his mother's abuse because he's tired of hearing bad stories about her, and generally acting like he has completely and utterly lost his marbles instead of it simply being a result of extreme PTSD, like when he makes the insane decision to propose to Connie, which felt like an incredibly artificial way to put him on a downward spiral. Future both added and destroyed aspects of Steven's character, and by the end of the series, most people were left very conflicted. I don't think it's the utter atrocity I thought it was years ago, but it's definitely an odd series and a very odd way to end Steven Universe as a series. Samurai Jack is one of my favorite animated series, period. From the striking animation, the enforced importance of its gorgeous visual storytelling, and all, it remains as one of the best offerings I've seen from Western animation, and made me a huge fan of Genndy Tartakovsky's work. Now, I was like 2 months old when the show was cancelled, so it didn't really have as big of an effect on me as it did for many others who were interested and invested in the show. But when I rediscovered it as I grew older, I was left with a crippling desire to see more. So in 2017, when we finally got a trailer for a 5th Samurai Jack season that not only sought to conclude the series but would also be airing on Adult Swim, finally granting it the ability to be darker, more mature, and to feature some genuinely impactful violence within the beauty of its action scenes, a lot of people were excited, me included. And when we got season 5, it was even better than we could have imagined. I maintain that the first 7 episodes of Samurai Jack Season 5 are the peakest of fictions, but after these 7 episodes demonstrated why Tartakovsky was such a master of his craft and showed Samurai Jack at its quality peak, something strange happened. Episode 8 felt tonally borked in comparison to the rest of the season, which was incredibly dark and mature, instead opting for a more comedic adventure in line with some of the show's earlier episodes. It was jarring, but not the end of the world. The season already had humorous moments and did them rather well, but this episode was a full-on comedy, and after Jack epically declared in the last episode that his next and final goal was defeating Aku, to suddenly be slapped with this felt very weird, not helped by the sudden romance blossoming between the new character Ashi and Jack. It was a little weird considering Jack is like mentally in his 70s due to all the time travel bullshit, but the main problem is that it threw romance into the mix of Samurai Jack's finale, and it's not like it was even all that good. It was a poor distraction that muddied the writing and pacing, especially when Aku pits Ashi against him and he can't bring himself to kill her, willingly giving himself up and bringing his journey to an end because he doesn't have the heart to kill a girl who has been a part of his life for like a week. The final episode attempts to cram a ton of fan service and references to previous episodes within the plot, as everyone Jack had met across the series returns to help him defeat Aku, but it's again rushed and loses all of its impact, besides this one scene which will always be funny.
The giant stone samurai.
Granted, the finale does get better towards the end, seeing Jack finally return to the past to the first episode of season 1, and with absolutely no hesitation for Aku's bullshit, charges and slices him with his sword, never relenting for even a second as he finally strikes the Aku that he had previously weakened down to the ground, letting out the most cathartic scream after a lifetime of hopelessness and torment. The thing that really ruins this ending though is the existence of Ashi at all. Due to being a daughter of Aku, Ashi is negatively affected by his death, but for some reason takes until the moment Jack has a wedding with her much later to fade away as she was never meant to exist, depriving Jack of his much deserved happy ending for a cheap death scene that doesn't make any sense. Why did she not fade away the second Aku had died? She clearly dropped to the floor here, it was the perfect time to do it. Why make Jack suffer on his wedding day? The final scene is beautifully depressing and maybe shed a tear, but it doesn't change the fact that this was an incredibly disappointing ending to what should have been the best season of the show. Hell, Gendy must have been aware of the ending's rather mixed reception because in 2020 we got a Samurai Jack tie-in game, displaying an alternate scenario that plays out instead of the immediate fight between Jack and Aku. In this game, Ashi is allowed to live in the present with Jack even after Aku's demise due to a time pocket copy of the future preventing her from piecing the fuck out. And to add further insult to the original ending, Gendy confirmed the game is the official canon ending of the series, rendering the original ending meaningless. Greetings, cartoon community. Teen Titans Go has been out for 10 years. Please stop talking about it. Anyway, Teen Titans is another one of my favorite shows to come from Cartoon Network. It's not nearly as good as Jack, but it's still a standout show worthy of its legacy, and I still think it's one of the best portrayals of the Teen Titans in anything, really. Not exactly a high bar, I understand, but you gotta respect the OG series somehow. They just don't make action shows for kids like this anymore, and the way it blended humor, drama, and action together without ever ruining the tone was immensely valued by a legion of dedicated fans who are still butthurt about the Poopy Poopy Farto show 10 years after it first aired. You guys could have started families within that time, or at least make yourselves lesser disappointments to your current one. Back on track, Teen Titans was cancelled. Why? Didn't sell enough toys, I presume. That seems to be the main reason Cartoon Network canned stuff and why we ended up with 5 Ben 10 shows and a movie that looks like this. But despite being cancelled, Teen Titans still had an ending. It was a cliffhanger ending for sure, but it still made the effort to put out an episode that had a sense of finality. This is the first ending on this list that isn't necessarily bad, but really sticks with you upon watching it, making you angry about how the show could have properly wrapped up everything if it had the time to do so. I appreciate that it didn't try to rush out a crapshoot finale and stuck to something far more simple. An ending that acknowledges that the show is over. It's not bad at all, just really frustrating. Beast Boy and Terra's parts are heartbreaking, and while it isn't the ending most of us expected, and it's alright to be disappointed by it, it's still an alright end to the series, just tolerable really. Knowing there could have been so much more in store is its main problem. Now let's go over some rapid fire reviews, endings that are pretty simple to explain and don't require an extensive knowledge of the series in order to acknowledge the faults. The Fairly Odd Parents is a show that didn't end with a finale because at heart it's an episodic comedy. Used to be one of Nickelodeon's finest cartoons and Butch Hartman's unfortunate claim to fame. However, as many have covered extensively, Odd Parents fell off a long time ago. But it didn't just fall off. The show sort of forgot how to TV show. It wasn't just painfully unfunny and devolved straight into mean-spirited nonsense, but it became very clear as new seasons came out that no one actually cared about the show's writing. It felt very much like I turned in a first draft for every episode, with a complete absence of the fast-paced, absurd comedy that made the series entertaining originally, replacing it for bare-bones slapstick, bad jokes exclusively at Timmy's expense, and plots so shockingly paper-thin they make Peppa Pig look like Shakespeare. Couple this with several jumpings of the metaphorical shark that the show designed to switch to Flash animation in its last few seasons, which somehow looks worse than the show's pilot from the 90s, and you have a show that was pretty much begging to finally be cancelled. Ratings were at an all-time low, and the show ended with a random, mundane episode that sucked balls. Weezer. The Amazing World of Gumball is another one of the best shows to ever come from Cartoon Network, and if you've been keeping up with the news surrounding it lately, you may be confused as to why it's even here. Currently, there's not only a movie continuation of the show in development after a
Yo, hi there. What's up?
Damn! Let's party.
Yeah, let's party, bro. Party time, bro.
Not for you. Yo, boss. What's up?
Well, I guess it's time for me to go because nothing else is doing good. So,
Your seat is taken. Okay.
now let me go ahead and go ahead and go.
Guys, we have a terrorist of a bomb here, so maybe you guys
I guess
should be fighting,
I guess
and that's
we
what
can
you
get after that. Hey guys,
There we go.
Get your ass out of here.
Oh, so you are real. Okay. I was fucking
Bro,
tripping.
I'll be your friend if you give me one of those.
I don't like these people. You live in personal space. Go right there. Sit down.
Yo, I would like 20 billion chicken legs because
Fuck
I'm
you.
out of
Nope.
Hold up.
Nope.
Tell me the
Nope.
reason why you're not
You already got
giving
enough
the
people
figure
stealing that shit.
Don't put that figure in my head.
Cause I don't feel like it.
Come here.
People don't-
Give it out of
I bet you don't
feel
have
like
this.
it because-
Hey, I bet you don't have this
Ew.
avatar that I have. I bet you don't
Oh
have
no,
this.
so
I'll give it.
I know what that's been.
I'll only give it to you. It has a taser and some other guns. I'll only give it to you if you give me one of those. Take it. But you have to give me one of those. It comes with a taser and stuff. Yeah, I don't think you
I
would
have that. I like SCP a little bit too much. I have all.
I can get
almost
that
all of these.
from a fucking avatar search.
You need anything?
I can get your avatar from a freaking avatar search.
Does this person need anything?
Oh,
You staring at a damn wall for fuck right.
The
Right.
UIU?
hey, bro, come here!
This?
Let me see.
And
Let
the
me see
other
what it
one-
has. Let me see what it
Nah.
has. Let me see.
You
what it
can't
has.
get those.
Boss,
This is not sped class. Leave me alone.
our old grandpa's here.
Wow. And I don't know why.
Grams, you been bulking?
Grandpa from Dragon Ball.
You been cutting?
Discord?
Hey, bro.
If you
I can.
Grams been cutting.
What's your guys' name? What's the girl?
Ooh, it's glowing.
forgot
It's a
that
girl.
old grandpa name.
I'm shitting.
Friends with a ton of
What am I shitting on?
but some of them don't want.
Lovely view.
Hey,
Hey, you stole my lightsaber. Give my
tell
lightsaber
me the
back.
name of your girl.
Kimiko.
The fuck?
There.
Let me.
Nasty, cringe.
But it's not on Discord. It's just a username on this game, not
Well, thank you there.
Yo, new people.
On the
Give
game.
me my hype up again.
rarely offline.
Kimiko doesn't want to talk to you.
You motherfucker. How do you know that?
No, it's true. She's saying this. I'm texting her. She's mad.
You have the force.
Armed security.
She's saying that she's mad at you for being mean.
No, it's true. Dusty
My people killed
Who's
you
the
guys.
people that you got them all from?
I don't know.
Going crazy.
I forgot.
Then find the people and give the avatars
Fuck
to
out of
me.
here, you slut.
Why should I, you little scumbag, you little brat?
I'll take everything back if you give me one.
Here, beer. I don't want you seeing that stuff.
It's uglier than those germs I killed. Give it away from me.
It's called Leave Me the Fuck Alone. It's called Leave Me
Bro, Agent, how'd you get up there? Whoa, oh crap, oh crap.
What the fuck? Oh god!
Get out of here. You're weird. You're weird. IRL and the game.
How are you doing that?
Yeah,
It's called magic.
oh, the block button. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yo, bro.
Okay, I really
Can you
wanna-
do me a favor?
Yeah, sure.
Can you tell that guy he's a nigger? Right there with the
That one?
FBI
The
thing
one-
on him.
Thank God.